All right, all right. I think we're here. We're live. Good morning, everyone. It's Matt.
Good morning.
Got my buddy Jason Pritchard here. We're just excited to be on, and we'll just kind of wait for people to hop on it. Look like we have some a lot of interest. You're like you're Insta famous, and you're a local celebrity, Jason.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to slowly but surely, one follower at a time out here, man. We'll see.
I love it, man. I love it.
It's probably my wife. She was in bed waiting for this thing to go on, so she's probably followers.
Nice. Yeah, we'll just wait a few minutes. A fun fact: both Jason and I are diehard 49er fans, so we had experiences this last year. So you've been paying attention at all, like watching the draft and kind of the moves we've been making? I'm sure, right?
Yeah, no, it's good, man. My dad was the one that brought me up a Niner fan, so we used to go to Candlestick all the time when I was little, and so he's even probably more of a diehard fan than I am, and so he's always like, hey, did you see this or did you see that? So we watched the draft, watched their offseason. I'm excited, man. I think I really like Shanahan, and I like Lynch, and I like the whole vibe that between the coach and the front office. I think that was our problem for a long time. Just right. They weren't on the same page.
Right.
And I think we're set up to make a run here for the next hopefully 3 to 5 years, man. We'll see how it goes.
I hope so. That'll complete, a good portion of my life if I could witness that.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking the last 2 Super Bowls, obviously.
That's right, man. Yeah, I thought we had it. We had a short window with Harbaugh. I thought the run with Harbaugh was going to go a little bit longer than it did. It felt like there was like this abrupt. That's it. It stopped. You know what I mean? So hopefully Shanahan. He's a little bit younger, and I think he doesn't want to go anywhere. He's an NFL kind of guy. I feel like.
For sure. No, I like where we're at. All right, what's up, everybody? We got some Niner fans on. My buddy Josh.
There you go.
He's a Niner fan. Yeah, so none of us are playing in the NFL, so we got to probably shift our focus to how we provide and pay our bills. My 40 time is a little bit, underneath the standard, so I have to give up on that dream.
You and me both.
Yeah. But guys, if you're joining us now, thank you for coming on again. Like always, this is interactive. So if you have questions for Jason, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's very successful. He's been in real estate. He's seen a lot of different things, done a lot of deals. He's great at leading a team. He leads the local meetup here in Fresno. They do monthly meetups. He's really great at relationships. Raising private money and having a team. So this is a guy that you want to, ask questions. Like I said, if you want to come on with us live, we can put you on the hot seat, and we're here to help you, right? That's the whole point of this. To both of us with our combined experience, think we can probably point you in the right direction or give you some value. So I encourage you guys to be interactive this morning. Yeah. But before we do that, Jason, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. I love doing stuff like this. I love doing what I can / we can to, give back. I think when I was first getting into the business, access was not easy to people that were actively doing deals. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't as easy as just, coming to a meetup or, just pinging them on social media. And a lot of people, I think, have shifted their focus, and they're being more of a go-giver attitude when it comes to this stuff. And so I truly enjoy doing this, and there's plenty of people that helped me along the way. So I like to pay that forward, man. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I think the degrees of separation have shrunk considerably with technology and social media. So literally, anybody out there that is looking to, get into business. I mean, it doesn't even have to be real estate. I mean, even if you want to become an entrepreneur, I've heard you say, because I've listened to other, podcasts and lives, like you went through YouTube University, right? Like to learn the business, right?
Yeah. It was interesting. I came from a corporate background. So all through college, and then after I graduated college, I was working in sales and management. I worked for a small tech company, and we were doing outbound sales. So I kind of cut my teeth and got my experience doing that. And I tried to climb the corporate ladder there, and it didn't really work out. I transitioned to another company, went through the same cycle. And then after 15, 16 years, I just realized that was not for me. Working for somebody else wasn't for me. Trying to grind it out in corporate America wasn't for me. And I genuinely didn't know anything about real estate, man. Like, I'm not joking. Like, getting into it, I say this all the time, but it was true. Like, I didn't know what a title company did at the time. I barely knew what a real estate agent did. I didn't know like all of these things that I think we take for granted because information's so accessible. And I learned by listening to Sean Terry's podcast. And I know that you're having Sean on, I think, next week, which is cool.
Yeah.
And crazy to think. I know Sean's has his fingerprints on so many different people's businesses and lives. And I remember his Flip to Freedom podcast. And I remember he had like a 5-part series on here's how you find an off-market deal. Here's how you market for it. Here's what you say on the appointment. Here's how you get the contract locked up. Here's what you do with the title. And I used to sit down and listen to that and like literally study it and take notes. And that's kind of how I learned. And I would take from step 1 and just try to go do it. And I'd fail forward and take as much action as I could. And then if I got stuck, I would go back and review or reach out to people that I was meeting along the way. And like, that's truly how I got started, man. It was just self-taught off of YouTube and podcasts. It was crazy. I
love it, man. That's amazing. You know, the couple things you said, I didn't realize you gave 16 years of your time to the corporate world. That's a long time. Yeah, man. I was 18. So right out of high school, I started with that first company. And I just started like just working my way up, just an entry-level position, making minimum wage, just trying to pay bills while I was going to Fresno City College. And I took to sales very quickly. And I think, you know, they kind of steered me that direction because they saw that I had like some natural talent. And I moved into like a management position when I was in my early 20s. And I was making really good money. And that's the thing with sales. And that's kind of the thing with corporate America is they can trap you really quick. You know what I mean? They dangle that check in front of you. And I mean, even at 22 or 23, I was making over 6 figures and I was doing that. And so I thought, you know, this must be it. Like, this has to be the path to go down. And so I was just really trying to climb that ladder as fast as I could. And just my heart wasn't in it. I didn't really believe in what we were doing. It was long hours. It was a lot of stress, a lot of politics, working for people that you don't like or that you don't trust or both. And I'd always been drawn to real estate, even when I was younger. I remember reading like Rich Dad when I was young and reading all those books. And I'd always been drawn to like self-improvement and trying to figure out like, you know, how do we unlock our own true potential? But I was just complacent. I got sucked in at an early age and I got sucked into that rat race and I was stuck there from 18 to my mid 30s, basically. Yeah. So like 34, 35. Well, tell me a little bit about like, you know, growing up, was your dad an entrepreneur or did he say, hey, Jason, a man goes to work, provides for his family, so you need to go out and get a job, make sure you get, you know, health care, make sure you get that consistent check because one day you're going to be married and have kids. And so you need to provide, right? Is that how he talked to you? Like, dude, go out and invent, be an entrepreneur. Like what did he teach you?
It's so both of my parents were great. My mom and dad were great. My dad was a professor at Fresno State. So we moved here when I was 5 because he got a teaching job at Fresno State and he taught there for 20 years. And my mom was also a college graduate, but she ended up just staying home. So when we moved here, she stayed at home. She raised me and my little sister. And you know, I kind of got, you talking about rich dad, poor dad, I kind of got, you know, brought up in that mentality where it's like, hey, you go to school, you go to college. College was very important. Education was very, very important in my household growing up. I always did really well in school. Like getting good grades was never hard for me. And I wanted to like make my parents happy, but I just didn't like it, man. Like I knew school wasn't for me. And after I graduated high school, I got to college and it was like, well, if I don't have to be here and I don't really want to be here and I'm not motivated to be here, it was tough. And so I found a job and I started working and I thought, you know, let me just find something where I can make good money. And I thought that was the way to kind of get out of the rat race.
That's impressive because there, you know, not everybody has that intuition or, you know, they're afraid to break out of that, right? Because like you said, you said something interesting, which I agree with. You said that check is a trap, right? And a lot of people don't have that, you know, I guess the word is, you know, they're not keen to it. They don't have that, you know, like, is this like working for me or against me, right?
Yeah.
Because it gets comfortable, right? If you every Friday or whatever, I've never gotten a check like you know, I mean, I've gotten a check, but I've never, you know, was told I'm getting a check. Every Friday. I don't even know how that works. Yeah. Like everything I've always done is like, I got to go out and perform in order to get paid, right? And so I wonder, like how, people kind of, they end up like getting excited and then they realize, man, like I'm 10 years into this and I don't see how there's zero chance of doubling my income here. Right.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it and you're like, oh, wow, like I don't see a path, but I guess the dividing line is, do they, push through that fear, or do they say, well, it is what it is. I'm gonna, take my medicine and I'm gonna be, showing up to this job the rest of my life and feeling miserable.
Right? I think everybody's tipping point is different, man. And I think for me, there was a set of circumstances, and it's a longer story. Remind me, I'll talk to you about it offline, and maybe we can come on and share it, because that's a whole episode in and of itself. But I had reached this transitionary point where it was just really hard for me, man. And I knew that I needed to do something else. And there was just, I didn't have an option, man. I felt like if I wasn't going to do something at that point in my life, I was just basically going to be stuck there. And so I found myself, for a lot of reasons, with like my back against the wall. And sometimes it takes that, man. You got to be in one of those do or die positions. And I think some people need it. And I would say I probably was one of those people that needed it, because it took me, I went from making 6 figures a year for 15, 16 years, right, to making no money at all and working every day for almost a year straight. Like from the day like I really started investing and saying, this is it, I'm going to do this, to the day I actually got paid, it took almost 12 months. And that was me not working at my other job. You know what I mean? And I was the main income earner in my household at that time too. And so there was a lot of pressure, man. And there's a lot of chances to give up along that way, along that path, especially at the beginning. And so I can understand why people just say, you know what, this isn't for me. Maybe it's only for guys like Matt or Jason or whatever. And I think it's just having the mental fortitude and the consistency just to plow through all those obstacles until you get to where you want to go.
100%. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be in a position to, and I always talk about it, right? Like I invest in myself and I put myself in rooms that I could stretch and grow. And I've been able to have like some amazing opportunities to hear very, very high level, entrepreneurs, guys that have made, tons of money and have climbed the success ladder. And I think, Jason, like to a man, it doesn't matter if it's a David Goggins to an Ed Milet to a Peyton Manning. I've heard all those guys speak in a room. It's been amazing. But it all comes back down to their own personal self-belief, which, is amazing, because we tend to, and I've been guilty of this, kind of put other people on a pedestal, right? Like, man, they must have something that I don't have, or man, they must have gotten this head start, or man, someone must be, really, putting him in position to succeed. And from what the things that they're sharing with me, they all started and like climbed through adversity and setback and failure and self-doubt.
Yep.
Number one, all of these guys, who seem to have it all together, that they're very polished, they're high level, they're performers, they've got a huge following, everyone would know them. I mean, when they're being honest, they're saying like, look, man, like I doubt myself every single day. A lot of the times I don't feel good. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. Sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. Sometimes I feel depressed. And it was like eye-opening to me, because, I just assume you guys are just like superheroes, right? Like they don't have off days. They're always on. They never get, scared. They never get nervous. They never, have anxiety. But it's actually the complete opposite. What they've learned to do, and I think guys that are successful, is they embrace that uncomfortableness, that fear, and they push through it.
That's absolutely right. I agree 100%. Yeah, no. So for me, it's been interesting as I basically built my business off of networking and relationships. So I spent a lot of time at the beginning just reaching out to people that were doing the things that I wanted to do. And a lot of them are like guys like you and our mutual friends, people that we know. And it was interesting for me to see that they're just regular people. You know what I mean? Like, I think you do have this preconceived notion sometimes when you see a person on social media or whatever, you hear about some of the stuff that they're doing and they're like, wow, they must have something that I don't have. Mm-hmm. And I never, ever walked away from some of those conversations, any of those conversations, feeling like, geez, this person just got started before I did. You know what I mean? And I You know, it's just a factor of time. And if I can just do the same things that this person did, I feel like with my capabilities and if my God-given gifts and what I'm really good at, I can blaze my own trail and get there myself. You know what I mean? And so it's it's really good what you're saying. I agree with it 100%. Once you're in proximity with those people and you see that there's no secret sauce or magic trick, it's just a lot of time, hard work, and consistency over the years.
Yeah, and what's amazing about that is what I love about putting myself in masterminds or higher, circles, if you will. Yeah. I get to borrow that belief.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because when you get to know people and they're being vulnerable a little bit and they're being open, I'm like, okay, I could borrow that belief because I've talked to this person one-on-one. They've shared with me some of the things that they struggle with, and we have some commonality. And I'm like, okay, like this dude is not, that smart, right? Like this guy.
Yes, no. And I'm not taking anything away from them. And that's the thing.
No. Yeah.
I never take anything away from anybody that I meet, but it's the same thing. It's like, we're not performing brain surgery on somebody. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's just, here's success leaves clues. That's what they always say. And there's always a blueprint or a roadmap. Somebody's already done what you or I are looking to do. So it's our job to reach out to those people, figure out a way to add value to those people, and then follow kind of like the breadcrumbs that they've left along the way. And then if it's up to us, if we're willing to do the work, then it'll happen. If you're not willing to do the work, then it's probably not going to happen.
You said it. Here's the dividing line that I also am very conscious of, and I'd like to ask you this question. Again, all the things that I said about these high-level performers having these traits that we could relate to, right? Because they're human just like us. We all go through those. But the dividing line is that they're able, when adversity comes, when they don't feel like doing what they need to do, they don't let feelings get in the way. They don't let lack of motivation, because motivation, guys, is not real. We can only be motivated for a certain amount of time. I don't care what or who you are. Pretty soon that motivation starts to, you know what I mean? So everyone's trying to look like, well, I need to feel motivated. I need to get motivated. I need something, right? I just don't feel like feelings are not important, right? So here's the dividing line. And what I'm learning is what they are able to do is they're able, and this is, you've heard it say different ways, connecting to their burn. Like what makes you burn? What makes Jason burn, right? What makes Matt burn? So the days that we don't feel like doing the things that we know we should do, or it doesn't matter what it is. It's that workout, it's that alarm clock, it's that, do I eat that donut or do I eat that salad? Yeah. All these decisions on a daily basis that, the lazy person in us wants to just take the easy route, right? But these high level performers and guys that are doing things, and girls, they make conscious decisions every single day to improve, and despite their feelings. So that right there is where I think, everyone can say they want to do this. They want something more for their life. They want to make more money. They want to break out of that job. But, when it comes time to perform and do it consistently, this is the dividing line. I'm interested to know, like, what's your burn, Jason? Like, what's your deep, like, when you go to when that alarm clock goes off or things get tough, like, where do you go back to say, you know what, I'm doing this for a bigger reason, not just, the simple,
There's a couple things. The two things that I always fall back on. Number one is I am like borderline obsessed with figuring out what my true potential is in this life that we have here on earth, right? So I want to be able to see like what I'm actually capable of doing if I don't put any limits on myself, if I don't put a break on me, if I don't do anything and I just give it my all, like what can I do, right? And I truly, genuinely believe that there is no limit to our potential. I think that, we can set our goals really, really high and achieve whatever it is that we want if we're willing to do the work. So I think for me, it's unlocking my potential. And then I associate very strongly with being a provider for my family, man. Like I just feel really, really good being able to provide a high quality lifestyle. And when I say that, it's not about money, man. Like for me, it's not about money. It's not about material things. It's about being able to have total control over every decision that we make, and not having to make those decisions based on finances or based on me having to be at a certain place or based on this or that or whatever, right? And so I just want myself and my family to be able to really like just live the life that they want to live out of design and not out of control from other things. And, you know, how that impacts like my kids and the future generations after us is very important to me because, you know, like I said, my parents are great. I love my dad. I talk to him all the time. My mom, same thing. But, you know, I want to change the trajectory of my kids and my kids' kids and like the way that they think and feel about life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Me living that every single day, you know, they're not just going to hear it from me, but they're also going to see me doing it. And I want that to have a big impact on them. I
love it. And what I take from that is you've kind of set, and this is listen to this, like if you're struggling, right? If you're struggling to find your way, you know, I think where you need to start is establishing, and you do this in the business, but you got to start with you got to start with your standards or core values. Right? Who are you as a person? What is important to you? Jason said, my family, you know, providing opportunity to change the generational wealth, the family tree, if you will. Like we're going to talk about great grandpa Jason and what he did, right? To change that, you know, that trajectory of the Pritchard family. Like that to me, I get goosebumps, like just hearing that, right? Like that will get your ass up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When you don't feel like doing something, like go back to that burn. Like that, I burn for you on. I share the same thing. I'm like, damn, like that's what's up. It's not about like, man, you know, I'm getting kicked in the ass, and man, this deal didn't go through. Or, man, like I can't find a lead, or the sellers aren't motivated, the leads aren't good. Like all the stuff that people like believe, like they let that nonsense come in, and they don't have a burn. So what happens? They burn out. And then they go back to, you know, accepting a low standard. Why? Because they haven't set standards. So if you're struggling to figure out why it is you're here, why are you even listening to this, or what your goals and dreams are, don't connect it, like Jason said, don't connect it to the things, the money, the whatever, the material things, because believe it or not, that will definitely burn you out. Once you achieve certain things and get to a certain level, that is not going to get you up in the morning.
It's a void that you can't fill. Like it's literally, I feel like it's a black hole. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. And so that's not what I'm saying. And I think sometimes I don't agree with the thought process. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't agree with the process that you've got to sacrifice and cut every single dime, save every dollar, and not enjoy life. You know what I mean? Because we're only here right now. Like there's no guarantee for tomorrow. And so I do think you should be doing the things that make you happy. So I don't have problems spending money on things that make myself and my family happy. And so it's our jobs to not make money the issue. We have to have so much income coming in doing the things that we love and enjoy, where we can do what we want to do without having to worry about it and putting ourselves in a bad financial position. And to emphasize the point that you made earlier when we started this topic of conversation, I spend more time on figuring out like how to get my head screwed on straight every single morning than I do like studying how to do real estate deals. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's people don't understand. Like when people ask me that, it's way more work learning how to master yourself, so that when every single part of your body and your mind is saying like you don't want to do a task, and even though you need to do it, having enough self-mastery to do it anyways, that's the gap between most people that are successful and not successful.
100%, man. That's really it. If you guys are looking for the magic, you know, the secret sauce,
that's it.
We just laid it down right there. It's not anything other than your self-belief, you know, your real deep reasons as to why you're going to succeed. And here's another secret. Everything that you have or need is inside of you right now. You just need to pull it out. And that's what goes back to working on your belief system, your self-confidence, keeping promises you make to yourself, because once we do that, we start to earn credibility with ourselves. You guys, you forget, like, we let ourselves down more than anybody else. I will make sure that I don't disappoint someone way more before, you know, I think about myself. kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, it is.
And that's just kind of the way we're wired. We're givers. We care about people. We want to see people succeed that are around us. But sometimes I'm the first to like let Matt down. I'm like, damn, like I didn't keep the promise I made to myself. And then that's
the hardest thing, man. Like it's the thing that even I've spent, I don't know how many years in self-improvement and learning how to do that. And just like you said, we struggle with it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's once you can really put some effort and energy in that every single day, you know what I mean? You'll start to see those results. And it's not like a light switch where you flip it on one day and then your life has changed. This is the analogy that I like. It's like a dimmer switch. It's like slowly but surely it starts to dim, and then all of a sudden, then you see the light. It doesn't happen overnight. You know what I mean? This is something where you're changing programming that you've had for years. I was changing 33 years of this negative programming that I had in my mind. It's not going to happen in years. It's not going to happen in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to take a long time. So be committed for the long run and in it for the long haul. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
I love it, man. And it's no coincidence that you're successful and have a high self-awareness, right? Like that's what people, who are starting on this path or have not yet got on this path. I think that's the most exciting thing about becoming your own person and controlling your destiny, because there's so many learning moments, and the journey is when you look back and you're like, man, like I went through from here to here. And it wasn't necessarily about achieving this goal, because the goal is cool. And then the way that we think, it's like, okay, on to the next. Like, I already got there. What's the next thing? But like the journey, and then the moments and the self-belief. And as soon as you start to like overcome that obstacle and another one, you start looking back, you're like, man, that wasn't so bad.
That's right. It's never as hard as you think it is. Like, if you would have told me that I'd be doing the things that I was doing 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I wouldn't have believed that I was capable of doing those things. You know what I mean? And that goes back to having to rewire the way that you think and feel every single day, because like, I genuinely believe that there's not a limit on what we can do. We're our own limit, and we've got to get the regulator off of our thoughts and off of our mind. And you can start to really do some amazing things when you put your mind to it.
Absolutely. And you have done amazing things. And I want to, congratulate you on that, and kind of just give you that credit where credit is due, guys. Coming from a corporate world, 16 years, going to YouTube, learning, as he goes, didn't let fear or lack of knowledge or uncomfortableness stop him. So that's how many years ago was that, Jason, when you stepped out into real estate?
5.5 years. We're going on year 6, but right now I officially said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going all in late 2015 going into 2016.
Okay.
Late 14 going into 15.
So the day you came out of real estate or into real estate, I'm assuming you didn't own any property, right?
We had our own primary house, and that was the extent of it. I mean, we were kind of chatting about that before we came on. And so I basically just said, you know what, I'm going to dedicate a full day every single day. And a lot of it was learning and self-educating at the beginning. So when we were talking about listening to those podcasts, watching those videos, it was a lot of time doing that. But I think the disconnect for people, especially trying to get their first deal, is they don't take action fast enough. They want to have it all figured out first. And I've never had that problem. You know what I mean? Like, when people that I associated with, that I was like, okay, this person is successful, this person's going or is already at where I want to go. When they tell me to do something, I don't question it. I don't try to put Jason's little twist on it. I don't try to do my own little thing. I just go do it. And then and then when I go back to that person, the conversations we're having are different. And that's kind of the struggle I have sometimes with newer investors. I love talking to new people, but we'll have a talk and we'll say, okay, you need to do this, this, and this. And then 3 months later, when we talk again, we're talking about the same thing. You know what I mean? And so it's
right. Yeah.
You've got to go out and take action and fail forward and just keep going and going and going and learning through experience.
100%, man. And it's amazing. So guys, if you're just joining us and you haven't heard Jason's story, so 5-6 years ago, he no experience, only owns his primary residence. How many properties do you own now, Jason?
52 units, rental properties.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You got 52 doors in 5.5, 6 years with no experience, with nothing to, mom and dad didn't give you that initial loan to start, right? They didn't give you $1 million to slide in.
A funny story, man. And I credit my wife with this because I think a lot of spouses would have put the brakes on me really quickly. And my wife, to her credit, she just let me, we basically cashed in our life savings, took a second mortgage on our primary residence. I maxed out every single credit card that we had. And I used that to just buy the first properties that we were doing. And I'd buy something, fix it, sell it, buy another one, fix it, sell it. And we would just plow all the profits back into the business. And so, it was without any knowledge or expertise or know-how, it was just a lot of faith, frankly, from both of us and a lot of belief.
And gut.
Yeah, that was it, man. And slowly but surely, you start making relationships with different people, different lenders. You start getting a track record, and you start getting access to people that start propelling in different ways. And so it was crazy at the beginning to think about it. Yeah.
So you guys that are sitting here watching this, you might be sitting on the sideline. You might be at a job that you hate. You might be just totally fearful of stepping out of your comfort zone. And you're hearing this amazing story. You're hearing a success story about someone that, is in the same boat as you. Shoot, maybe you might even be in a little bit better place than where Jason was when he started. My question to you is why are you not taking action? What is holding you back? What are you telling yourself? What lies are you telling yourself about, the reason why, well, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start next month, or the markets just doesn't seem like it's the right time to jump in, or, coronavirus is happening. This is not a good time. What lies are you telling yourself? I really would like for someone to post a comment, come on live with us, get vulnerable, get scared a little bit, because that's what it takes. Bold moves. I love it. There you go, Mike. Right. So, and that's the whole point of it, guys. It's you're on just one decision away from being on the other side of what you want. What you want is right there. It's just a matter of you stepping into it and accepting whatever comes, you're going to handle it. There's nothing that you and I have gone through that in hindsight, we look back and we're like, man, it wasn't worth that. You know what I mean? Everything we've gone through I think I could speak for you too. I know every challenge or setback or whatever, was, scary at the time. You look back and that was nothing.
Absolutely. I've conditioned myself over the years to not worry about things anymore, because there used to be so much worry and doubt and fear when something would not go according to plan. And I've just learned that it always works out the way that it's supposed to, right? Yeah. And so if there is a challenge, if something comes up, if you thought things were going to work out this way, but it ended up getting sideways a little bit, there's a reason why that happened. And the what you get out of all of those experiences is the knowledge to how to overcome that obstacle the next time it comes up. So every transaction that we do, every time something doesn't, work out the way that you think you do, you got to learn to embrace it, and you got to really lean into that resistance and learn to eliminate all of that kind of fear and self-doubt that you have, and realize now we've just got to get down to business, figure out how to do this. It's all going to work out in the end, so I'm not going to worry about it. And once we get outside the other end of it, I'm going to be a better person because of it. And when you can learn to embrace that stuff, things start to move very quickly, and Absolutely. You stop having this resistance up to all the things that are coming towards you. You know what I mean? And it's weird how momentum works in life and in business, man. Once you get a little bit of it and you can get that snowball kind of going downhill, that's how you see these people just there. It looked like all of a sudden it was like this, and then it was a big spike in their trajectory. It's because they got their momentum and they really started to get into their groove.
Jenna said, "I got scammed. I need a break." Quote, my excuse. That's terrible. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, no one deserves to be scammed. But I guess I would answer to that would be, did you die? Did it just absolutely crush you? Are you living and breathing today? Obviously you are. So it's a testament to you that you're here. You're still progressing, Jenna. And I still think you're one deal away from, just get right back on the track and push forward. Don't let this temporary setback dictate the rest of your life. Like you'll end up regretting that more so than, you know, dealing with that person that did you wrong. You know, that's terrible. Like I feel for you. I do. But I think you need to look at it from this perspective. You know, things happen for me and not to me, right? So, you know, maybe try to find the learning lesson inside of that situation. There's a learning lesson in there. You know, maybe you didn't, you know, cross your T's, dot your I's. Maybe you know, this will teach you to vet more and ask more better questions and really protect, you know, who you're dealing with. And so I think you could grow from this and become better from the setback, Jenna. So don't let this be the story. That's not the ending that is intended for you or the way it's written. It's just a page in the chapter, right? So how we choose to think about it is so critical. Kevin Musto, my mind's not on that level yet.
You'll get there, man. I see you out there, bro. I see you grinding. I see you doing your thing. It's been cool to see how you've been finding more success. Kev's he went to high school with us. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
So I've known Musto since I was a little kid, man. And I remember we reconnected and he's doing real estate in the Bay Area. And I love to see you growing, bro. And, you know, if I can help you with anything mindset wise, the biggest thing that helped me get to where I'm at is surrounding myself with people that are doing the things that I wanted to do. And the sooner that I did that, the faster you're going to see changes. So if you're looking around and the people around you aren't motivating you and getting you uncomfortable, you need to find some more people to start hanging out with, man. And in like with tech and everything, the way that it is, it doesn't need to be like the people that are in your office, man. You know what I mean? Like you've got me, you've got Matt, you've got a bunch of people that you can tap into that can help light a fire under your ass, man. So if I can help you with that, you just let me know.
For sure, dude. I remember Kevin as like the scrappy dude.
Yeah.
So I think you're just you know, like Jason said, dude, level up, right? Level up your circle. Get around guys that, you know, are doing things that you want to, you know, get up to. Just because it stretches you, it helps you grow. You know, a couple things that I remember my grandpa told me. I think it's funny the way it just makes a lot of sense. He says, you know, if you hang around the barn, you're going to end up smelling like shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that, right? So think about it, like your circle, like who's influencing you, right? Like, are you guys hanging out with people that are just like excuse, you know, people like complainers, always blaming the economy, always blaming the president, always blaming this person or that person? Or are you looking for people that are actually trying to solve problems? They're trying to move out of their circumstance and get to the next level. So it's super important to surround yourself with people that are like forward thinkers. They're positive, they're growing, they're stretching, they're pushing themselves, because you'll just, you know, what they say, a rising tide floats all ships. You know what I mean? So
accountability is huge, man. That was a big thing, because when you get in those circles and you say that you're going to do something, if you don't do it, like you're not going to be in that circle very long. You know what I mean? And so you got to have accountability partners in your life. And I remember we have a mutual friend, Alan Folio, who kind of like who did that to me, really opened my eyes to thinking bigger at the beginning, especially about owning units. It's a funny story with him. I met him and I didn't have any rentals at the time. This was 3.5 years ago. And I met Alan and I think he had 16 doors, and he goes, I'm going to buy another 16 this year. And it was like already like March or like April of the year. And I was like, in my head, I was like, how the hell is this guy going to do that? How's that even possible?
Yeah.
And I knew, we kind of hit it off, and I knew in my mind, I said, this guy's got something that is something that I need to find out more about. You know what I mean? And it's being in like relationships like that. And so when I talk to guys like that and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get 5 doors this year. I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? And so
you hard his belief.
Partners, man. Yeah.
And that dude was driving a tractor.
He was driving. That's crazy. A tractor, literally same age as me, driving a tractor. And you hear stories like that all the time. And if you can see a guy like Alan that goes from driving a tractor to doing the stuff that he's doing right now, anybody that's listening, anybody that ever watched it, we're all capable. There's no, I genuinely believe that. Everybody, like you said, you've got this God-given gift in you, and it's your responsibility to pull it out. All the things you're looking for, you've already got them. You just got to get them out into the world.
I'm going to share this with you. You'll love it. I heard this week. How can you not give 100% when it's 100% your choice. And Jerry Rice said that.
That's right. Yeah.
Greatest football player, greatest wide receiver ever. Right. And so if you know Jerry Rice, you know his work ethic. But, that relates to all of us. How can you not give 100% when it's 100% your choice? So only you can answer that. You know what I mean? There's places in my life that I'm not giving 100%, and it bugs me, right? But I try to okay, I accept that. I'm aware of it. So here's what I need to do. I don't dwell on it. I don't regress even more. I'm like, okay, here's my shortcomings. Here's what I'm struggling with. That's what I need to attack, right? And so that's the mindset of a person that wants to achieve, that wants to break out of the mold, that wants to get to the next level. It's constant self development. It's being in line with, being honest with yourself. Hey man, I'm lacking in these areas. I can improve though, right? It's the people that just, oh man, I suck here, I suck there. I don't have it in me.
Yeah.
It's not the truth.
And I think a tactical thing that you have to do is you've got to start putting stuff down on paper, and you've got to come up with just what the goals are. And then you've got to come up with the steps for whatever it is that you're doing. And it's got to be broken down into daily tasks. So if you take a 5-year goal and you break it out into yearly chunks, and then you break those out into 12-month chunks, and then you break that out to daily activities, if you just follow that path, you'll get there. You know what I mean? And then it's the self-improvement stuff that keeps you on track when you're feeling down. You can't let yourself get too up and down on the emotional scale. You've got to kind of stay even keel. But you've got to have a plan to do every single day. Otherwise, you're just going to be floating around without any place to go.
Yeah, I also heard that the highest performers connect to their beliefs daily. So that's, we talked about what's your burn, right? So connect to that daily, because that's going to get you to the place mentally, emotionally, physically to go out and do those tasks. And to Jason's point, get planned, right? What, reverse engineer it. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in, and break it down in small chunks, 6-month goal, 12, but don't go 5 years out that our brain doesn't work like that, right? Our brain works in increments, in small sprints, right? So, hey, in 6 months, I need to have 2 deals under contract, or in 6 months, I need to have talked to, 150, sellers, for example. That's probably not enough, but get something that's scalable. You can measure it, right? That's a measurable thing to do. You can say, I either did it or I didn't. When people say, well, I just want to become successful. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. You have to be very, very, very specific about what success means to you. And then you've got to come up with a plan on what you can do every day. If it's too vague, it's not going to happen.
Noah said, hey guys, I've been following you both for several months now. I've been managing Airbnbs in the Bay Area for several years. I figured out how to start buying houses with conventional loans. Recently started cold calling and texting. Okay. Question. Can you guys help clarify documents and steps needed to close a subject to deal? Got my first hot lead and ready to close it. You want to take that, Jason?
Yeah. So Noah, if you want to DM me, I actually have a template for a subject to contract that you can use, that I've used personally on some of my deals. And I'm more than happy to share it with you. You just have to edit out and put your information. As far as the documents that you need, I think when people start doing creative financing, they want to make it a little bit more complicated than it actually is. There's a couple moving pieces that are a little bit different. If you're going to buy it subject to, you're just buying it and you're keeping the existing mortgage in place. So it's subject to the existing mortgage, right? And so you've just got to make sure you explain that to the seller, and you've got to have that spelled out in the contract. I'll provide you with the contract, and then you've got to work with a title company that can make sure that they handle the transaction and the rest of the paperwork for you. If you need help as far as verbiage and stuff like that, I don't want to get too far in the weeds with the question, but I can kind of walk you through the experience and stuff that I've had.
Awesome. Gerald asks, can you expound the mindset/exit strategy to owning doors versus flipping and wholesale or wholetail on your journey?
I'll give my 2 cents, Gerald. So here's what I think. I think at the beginning, the mistake that I made was I painted myself in a corner as far as the title that I put on myself. So I only was flipping houses at the beginning. I told myself I'm only going to be flipping because I thought that that was the way that you made the most money when you got a deal. You know what I mean? And so every deal that came across my plate, I said, how do I buy this, fix it, and sell it, right? And then I transitioned a little bit later on, and I said, okay, now I'm gonna go crazy buying rentals, and I want to keep and rent everything that I got, right? And then, you know, as I've grown and matured, I've really learned over the last couple of years that it's like you got to just take the deal and figure out what's the best exit strategy for that particular deal at that time for you and your business and where you're at in your life, right? Mm-hmm. And that way you're going to be able to do more deals because there's stuff that you probably wouldn't work as a rental, but you can do one of the other exits that you're talking about. It may work as a flip or a wholesale or a wholesale. And I think when you just look at yourself as I'm a real estate investor and I have all of these different tools in my tool belt, and I'm going to use the right tool for whatever job that is at hand right now. And I think if you take that mentality, I think everything in your business will grow. I just started when I made a concerted effort, and I had a target for the amount of doors that I wanted to own. So that was, for me, one of the big things for me is that you have this potential for big pops of income from flipping and wholesaling. But I genuinely, me personally, I really like the passive regular income that's generated. Not all passive, but it's the regular income that's generated from owning rental properties. And so I made a concerted effort not to peel all the money out of my account and just reinvest back into the business. I had to reinvest it into another vehicle that was going to generate money. And so that's what I did. So I think if you come from more of like a well-rounded investor approach and just say, what's the best option for this deal, that's the way that I would go with it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think it's if you got 10 different investors on here and ask them the same questions, you probably get 10 different answers. The answer from my experience, Gerald, is what does Gerald want? And you start from that point, right? You may not have that answer yet because everything could be like a shiny object. You may think, oh man, I need to be buying doors, or I need to be flipping, or I need to be wholetailing, whatever the case is. But, you know, as you start to experience different things in the business, and you'll quickly figure. So for me, you know, earlier in my career, I started wholesaling, and then I got, you know, shiny object syndrome, and I thought the same thing. Well, flippers make the most money. So, you know, my personality is sometimes I'll just make decisions on a whim, which is not always the best thing because, you know, I'm a high quick start person.
When you're a fast action taker, sometimes it can bite you in the ass too.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, we'll figure it out, right? Yeah. So then, you know, I get into it, and I wake up one morning, I'm like, I'm a flipper. Okay, what does that mean? I guess I'm gonna start flipping. And then, you know, the thing that so that I go hard at it. So now all of a sudden I go from, you know, not flipping properties to doing like 5 or 6 projects at one time. Mm-hmm. And that was like too crazy for me for many reasons. One, I didn't have a crew set up, right? So I wasn't good at, you know, managing crews. I would, you know, guys wouldn't show up to the job. The quality of the work sucked. You know, the delays happened. Then I learned about cash flow problems, something that no one taught me. It's not something you could think of. Wait a second, like everything's going out, right? Everything's going out. You know, projects are getting delayed. There's houses sitting we're not even getting to, and I'm just stroking the mortgage. Yeah. And that creates anxiety in me. I learned really quickly that I don't function well when, you know, I don't have a certain amount of, you know, cash flow coming in and it's all going out, and I start to get nervous, right? And then the minute you start getting nervous is when you make bad decisions, right? Cutting corners, you know, rushing the process, lowering your price, you know, whatever it is, just because you want to get some capital coming back. And so for me, I learned that I don't operate well. I'm not fun to be around at home. My wife was like, dude, you know, like, why are you so mean? Like all these things that like, I was just stressed out. And I said, okay, you know, that's not my strong suit, right? My strong suit is to get in and out. And, you know, I leave money on the table for guys that are more suited. They've got the teams, they've got the structure. They're very comfortable with the process. They've got the operational. So I didn't try to like force myself into becoming, you know, Matt the Flipper, right? Like I'm okay with what I do, right? And so why? Because it serves me. It makes me feel comfortable. It makes me feel confident. It's more predictable for me. I can control, the daily actions better. I'm not like, okay, we're flipping this one and we're wholesaling this one and we're wholesaling this one and where's the guys at Home Depot and I got to run out to. I mean, it's just like you're all over the place. Like, how can you get structured and create systems on chaos? You can't. So you got to get really comfortable and understand where your unique abilities are. If your unique ability, Gerald, is to manage crews and make sure you got someone managing all of the Home Depot receipts and runs and contractors and change orders and the city and inspectors. If you like that, more power to you. But for me, I didn't enjoy it. Jason, I don't know what your opinion is, but like you've done a lot of different things, but you figured out what works for you, right?
Yeah, I think there is some value in trying your hand at a couple different things, because flipping houses forces you to get good at things that like such as raising private money. If you want to flip at scale, you don't want to have all your own money into it. So if you're going to do 8 or 10 houses at a time, it forces you to get good at raising money, and raising money is a very important skill in this business. It forces you to get good at running crews and running contractors, right? Because if you want to own rental properties at a large scale, you know what I mean? You've got to have some kind of sense of how some of this stuff works. But I agree with you 100% that you got to find your niche, and you got to be able to be self-aware enough to understand like what your strengths are, and then find what overlaps best with your strengths. Have the flexibility to do other things if you feel like, hey, this is what it is. But like when you find your strength, you've got to hammer that and go to that well over and over until there's no more water. You just keep going to it. You know what I mean? And so I think everybody here's got to figure out what they're good at. So
yeah, a great answer again. And once you figure that out, I say you go deep with it and not wide. The wider we go, the more we lose, control. It's hard to go wide and be efficient. It's hard to go wide and scale and grow. The deeper you go, the more you can control, the more you get very focused and in line with your business plan and your model, right? So I don't get like shiny object. If I have a deal that comes in, I'm like, man, look at the spread on that, right? Because like your first, I'm leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
But I know through experience, there's, that spread starts to get like this.
Oh yeah, you can get sideways really quick, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not a good manager of it, if your systems suck and if your operations suck, your margin gets really tight, right? And so I learned that lesson through experience. So now I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get shiny object. I'm going to wholesale it. That's what I do. Every now and then, if I feel like I could take it down and do very basic, I'll do that. But that's the extent of it. So you're not going to see me tearing out walls and redesigning and doing all that anymore, because it doesn't serve me. That's me though. That doesn't mean it doesn't work for you. Jenna, question. I got an inside lead. How can I explain to this person how I got this lead without giving up my source? I think I can help him, but I will be coming out of nowhere. And what does that mean, inside lead?
I'll take a crack at it. I think what I would do, Jenna, is if you got maybe like inside information or somebody that knows the owner personally, like gave you a tip that says, hey, this is it. You're better off just doing hey, I'm just reaching out to you out of the blue. So if you call the seller, I would say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I was actually calling you about your property on 1234 Main Street. I know this may be out of nowhere, but I'm a local real estate investor. I'm thinking about buying a home in your neighborhood. Have you ever thought at all about selling? And just approach it that way. I don't think if there's underlying motivation there, it will come out in that conversation. So I don't think, don't overthink it, and you don't need to like be like, oh, well, so-and-so told me about this place and blah, 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 blah. Like just go talk to them. Don't like, especially at the beginning, people make things way more complicated than they are. And here's the trick. If you feel resistance to something, because I guarantee you're feeling some resistance right now in calling this person, you've just got to pick up the phone and call them, or you've just got to drive over there and knock on the door. And you've got to condition yourself to every single time you're feeling some resistance, you've just got to tell your mind, okay, I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to get it over with and get it out of the way. So pick up the phone and call that person.
I love it. I have a question. What do you struggle with the most, Jason?
What do I struggle with the most? I would say the thing that I'm constantly looking to improve is how to keep my head screwed on every single day the right way. And it's getting outside of all the emotional ups and downs and not riding the wave of like being too high when things are going great and not getting too low when things are not going the way that I want them to.
Mm-hmm.
And I put more time into that than anybody that I know, like, and I still struggle with that, dude. Like, it's still hard, man. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like, you don't change all this programming that you have in your head that you've had a lifelong 30-something years of being programmed a certain way and thinking a certain way. It doesn't change overnight. It doesn't change in 5 years. It just doesn't. It takes so much hard work and effort to get that to the point. And that's probably what I don't like, the struggle. That's the thing that I focus most of my time improving on. I want to just get better at that.
I love it. I didn't spell that right, but blissfully dissatisfied, right? I think a lot of guys that are achievers, like we're blissful, like we try to be blissful in every circumstance, but we're always dissatisfied with where we're at, right? Not because we're not thankful or have a bunch of gratitude, but it's just another notch. Like, it's another level that we want to get to because we're always trying to improve ourselves.
That's it. Yeah. No, I talk to a lot of friends and family members, and they see some of the stuff that we're doing and they feel like, hey, this has happened so fast. This is crazy. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not even like anywhere. I've only accomplished like this much of what I want to do. You know what I mean? And so it's funny to me that like it's like two completely different ends of the spectrum in the way that you're thinking. And it's like, yes, I am grateful. I thank God every morning for all of the blessings and everything that I have. And I know that that's important because you have to have that gratitude. But I'm not where I want to go yet. You know what I mean? There's so much more life left to live, and there's so many more things to accomplish. And so you've got to find the balance between those two things.
And then, I'm sure you watched, did you watch The Last Dance?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I was like, really, it was interesting because if you, at the last episode, right? Like, I mean, we know Jordan won 6 championships, but he's literally like tearing up, shaking, like, and you almost felt bad for him, right? Right, but this guy's like the icon of icons. Like, I mean, the greatest of all time, 6 championships. I mean, Air Jordan, dude. Right? Like, how can you even? I mean, I think he probably could have won, like, not playing baseball and some of the things. Like, man, he probably could have won 9 or 10.
Yeah.
But like it's psychotic in a sense because it's like that guy would, he would never like ever give himself credit and say, you know what, I achieved so much and I'm grateful. Like that's an extreme, but the way that he elevated people around him, it's like he didn't, obviously they kind of made it sound like he wasn't like a great teammate or easy to get along with, but damn, like I don't think any of those players regretted being his teammate.
No, absolutely not. And what I loved about that documentary is that Jordan was so in tune with what motivated him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he knew how to internally like push his own buttons, you know what I mean? And figure out the things that he needed to do. And everybody needs to get better at that. It's like the things that motivate Jordan may not motivate you or I or everybody that's listening to this thing, but everybody has their own stuff. You know what I mean? Yep. And he was so like 100% aligned with what those things were and aware of those things. And he could just he had conditioned himself at like the drop of a dime to turn it on and off. And that I think is amazing. And there's like, again, like he's not, I mean, obviously he has a lot of physical gifts and all these things, but it was all of the work and the effort and everything. That's the reason why he's there. Yeah,
man. It's the truth, you know, and it's amazing to see. I love just studying the mindset of people. I love seeing, even Kobe, right? Like the Mamba mentality and you look at how Jordan, the way his mind thinks, and then you even go to the business world and you see guys like an Elon Musk or an Ed Milet or guys that are just constant high level performers, and they just they lean into their shortcomings and they just really try to capitalize on the areas that they feel inadequate. And that's a normal feeling. We all have inadequacies. We all have doubts and insecurities. And again, I'm just, touching on this because it's so huge. It's like, guys, like it's normal to feel that every single day. We're human, but don't let that be the roadblock for you to achieve, what it is you want in this life. Because, I'm 41 now. Like I remember, high school, right? And I'm like, dang, I'm 41. I'm not even anywhere close to where I want to be. Like I need to get going.
Yeah, that's right. That's how I feel all the time. I feel like I got a late start. Like the 16 years that I spent in corporate America, I feel like every day I'm like, shit, I got a late start to this. You know what I mean? I got to catch up. I'm like constantly in my head. It's like, all right, we got to do this. We got to do this because I didn't start, 5 years earlier or 10 years earlier. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of one of those hacks that I have to kind of find another gear when I need to. You know what I mean? It's like, listen, you started this late. Like now you got to get going. There's no time to not do anything right now. So we've all got to figure that out for ourselves.
Guys, we still got a lot of people on. We're about an hour. I want to respect Jason's time. On time, Jason, you got a few more minutes?
Yeah, a few more minutes for sure.
Okay, guys, fire in your questions here so we can help you out. Right? Let's go. Let's see some questions. Let's get some good ones. Some brain benders. Everyone's got it figured out.
Yeah, Matt and I are both open books, man. There's not a secret to anything, and so if there's a question about anything that you guys have, if we've experienced it, we'll definitely give you our truth to it, man. So let us know if you guys need anything that we can help you out with. We're happy to do it.
Let's see. Okay, well, we're waiting for some questions. Can you share with us, like, your BHAG, which is a big, hairy, audacious goal? Like, something that you probably...
Sure. Yeah. I like sharing stuff like this, man, because it's like when you put it, I feel like you have to be confident enough to put these things out there, right? And so I am really motivated and inspired when I see big development projects, right? Like we live in the same area in Clovis. And so you'll know this when I bring it up. So I would always drive on the 168 and I would see the new wing that they were building at Clovis Community Hospital that took them, 10 years or however to do it. So every day I would drive to work and from work, and I would see this thing kind of just go from literally nothing dirt to now it's like this whole brand new wing of the hospital. And like that type of stuff to me is really cool. So I want to figure out how do I have my fingerprints on the type of stuff that changes the landscape of the whole city. You know what I mean? And like that type of stuff is just really motivating to me. I feel like when you boil it down, Fresno's not that real. It's really not that big of a city. And then the people that are operating at the top of the food chain in the real estate space, I think a lot of them are people that kind of got their starts doing similar things to us. And they just kind of kept going and going and going and climbing the ladder and going. And now they're there. They're at the top of the food chain. So I want to have a seat at that table at some point when this is all done. And I want to look around, and when 20 years from now, I want to see the people that kind of climb the ladder with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think as
evolving, right?
We all climb the success ladder, it opens up opportunities for people beneath us to go to that next rung too, or underneath us on there. And so I want to be operating at the biggest level, the top of the food chain. My roots run pretty deep here, and I like that type of stuff. And I want to do like big projects like that. And so I think that would be my big hairy ass goal.
I love it. I love it. Mike wants to know, what was your first step in finding your first private money lender?
That's a good question. There's a lot of talk right now going on about how to raise private money because a lot of lending options are drying up and different things, right? And so here's what I would tell you, Mike. I would say, number one, it starts with you and your track record. You have to have and start developing a track record for success. So you got to actually go out there and start doing projects. I personally put all my money up front. So when I said at the beginning, I mortgaged my house and I cashed in my life savings and I maxed out my credit cards. I did that because I didn't feel comfortable going to somebody like my friend or family member or some stranger and asking them for money to do my deals, because I wasn't confident enough in myself. And so I had to build that confidence and start doing some deals and just figure out how to do it. Like if you put your mind to it, you can figure it out. I guarantee it, right? Once you do that and you start getting some momentum and you have a track record for success, you got to document those things, and you can create, I call it a credibility packet, and I can share it. And it's basically just a simple thing that shows, here's me, here's some information about me, my background, here's a couple projects that I've done. And then you've got to go ask. So you've got to go to networking events. You've got to talk to your sphere of influence. You've got to start going out and asking people. People don't know that you need money unless you go and talk to them. You know what I mean? And so I would always go to these networking events. And when you're given an opportunity to introduce yourself around the room, you just say, hey, my name's Jason. I'm currently working on a couple projects. I've got a few more deals in the pipeline. I'd love to make a relationship with somebody that's interested in funding some of my projects, right? And then when you hear somebody talk about lending, then at that meetup, you've got to go find that person and talk to them. And then you've got to develop a relationship with them. And then that person will always lead to the next person, and that will lead to the next person. And I probably got 20 people that I borrow money from to fund my deals. And almost every single one of them were referred to me by somebody that I've done business with, because they've all got friends and family members that are interested in making money. And private lending is a good way to do it without necessarily having to do all the dirty work that we're doing, finding the deals and managing the contractors. And it's a way to get more passive income. So you've got to get a track record, then you've got to go ask.
Yeah, 100%. And in my experience, people are going to, lean more heavily in betting on you as the operator, right? Not so much of the project. Yeah, the project in some sense is important. Like they want to make sure you're not, putting their money into something that, doesn't make sense. But as you develop a track record, like Jason says, and you start to perform and do the thing you said you're going to do. When you say you're going to pay them, damn it, you better make.
Even if you're losing money, you need to pay them no matter what. They can never not get their money back. That's how that you have to do everything that you say in this business. Otherwise, your word is worthless, and your word is everything in this business. You cannot not do what you're going to say.
100%. Yeah, that's critical. But yeah, Mike, I coming from my opinion, have conversations. Anything that you want is just a matter of putting it out there and communicating and letting know, the people that are, have ears to hear that you're someone that is interested in structuring a private money deal. And, a lot of people, I've never not had people want to talk about how to make more money. They may say no, but it's not a conversation that, people are not willing to have. Like people like to talk about real estate, how to make more money, how to advance and do more. And it's an attractive thing. It's an attractive conversation most people like to have. So again, putting yourself in those circles that are having those conversations frequently, and then you'll connect with certain people that you just vibe with, and then pretty soon you find a deal, you present it. Hey, I could give you X return. I need to borrow the money for a certain amount of time. Here's my exit strategy. Here's how I plan to execute. That's it. And then the great thing about private money is it's secured by an asset. So, you're not going and like, hey, I'm going to go develop this app, right? So give me $100,000 and, I'm going to make this amazing app. Like that's hard. That's hard for people to get around because there's no security in that. Like you have like a tangible asset. They could drive by it. They could see it. You give them a first trust deed. So assuming you're buying it right, you know what I mean? It's a very safe, makes sense investment for people that get it, right? And even if they don't get it, you can kind of walk them through like how it works. Like, it's a very simple conversation. It's very easy to understand. So, those are very, positive things about, helping someone grow their money and then learning about what they want, right? Like it's important to ask questions to that particular person. How's your money doing for you? What kind of return are you getting? Are you in the stock market? Like what kind of return are you getting just sitting in the bank? Right. So, and another thing is like, don't come out of the gate and tell people you're going to pay them 20%. That's a red flag, right? People they don't get that, right? Especially people that aren't in this world. They'll be like, wait, there's something fishy about it, right? People forget like an amazing return for people is like 6 or 7%. Like we pay more on the real estate side because that's just kind of what we do. But there's a lot of people out there right now that would just bend over backwards to make 7% on their money.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So just take those things into consideration and you know, under promise, over deliver. Michael Zuber, legends. You're a legend, Zuber. Mr. B, how often or frequent should I follow up with cold leads? Once a month, twice a month, once a week?
The easy answer is more than you're doing right now. The detailed answer is, here's what I would suggest you do. If you get a new lead, I would say day 1 through 7, you should be contacting them 2 to 3 times per day. Okay, so that can be a call or a text. 2 to 3 times per day, day 1 through 7. Day 7 through 14, you can call them once a day. And then day 14 through 30, you can stagger it every other day. And then after 30 days, they need to be like on a, you know, a bi-weekly drip where you're just, you know, they're a reminder to follow up. But if you, I've heard it called different things. People call it different things, but you got to be calling them a lot, especially at the beginning. And yeah, most people are not following up anywhere close to the amount that they should be.
Yep, that's the truth. Yep, the money's in the follow.
Absolutely.
You know, 80% of your deals come from follow up, right? So you know, you got to make sure you're treating that, you know, with that in mind, and you know, follow up until they tell you to take you off the list or the property's sold. That people are on my list, you know, all the time. I never take people off the list. So, and we're trying to, you know, touch them in some capacity. Like Jason said, that's great advice. The first 7 days, hammer them, and then let off the gas a little bit if they're not responding, but they're always in a certain follow-up phase. So great question, great answer. All right, couple more questions, guys, and we're gonna let Jason go and about his day. Get him in, guys, get him in. We got a couple minutes. All right. Cool. Jason, it's a pleasure, man. I really enjoyed this conversation. It was great. I appreciate you taking the time coming on. It's always great to hear people that are successful, man. I'm super proud of you, dude. Like, I mean, just as a friend, and I love seeing people win. And I appreciate your friendship and you know, being a great guy to lean on and talk to about things. And I just wish you all the best. You know, genuinely, I hope you do, you know, end up building skyscrapers in Fresno.
I know you do, man, and it's good. I think for me, when I see people doing successful, it genuinely makes me happy. And I think you and I are wired the same way when it comes to that. I appreciate that. You were one of the guys that I was trying to model initially at the beginning when I first got into the business, because you were one of the, you know, the early adopters, I would say, out here. You've been doing this business for a very long time. So it makes me feel good, man, to even just be able to talk to you at this level. And, you know, hopefully we can continue to do more business in any way that I can help you and your people, your family, anything, man. You just let me know. I'm here.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Guys, as always, I appreciate you guys spending time in the morning with us. I got some great guests coming up. Tomorrow, I got a guy that is outside of real estate. He'll talk about health, how to, this guy's brilliant in terms of being able to help you out and give you some great tips. Like, he's helped me lose weight, change my body composition, and he's a wealth of knowledge. So tomorrow at 8, I'm bringing Mike Fat Boy Slim on. They call him Fat Boy Slim because he was once fat and now he's shredded. So that's kind of cool. Like, he knows how it is to be fat. I'm a fat guy at heart and been fat most of my life, but you know, he's helped me out. And then next week we've got Sean Terry coming on Tuesday, who's a legend. Jason mentioned him. He's helped, I mean, tons of investors across the country. He's one of the best I know at helping you go from point A to Z the quickest. How to get your first check. He's the master at that. He's going to give like serious knowledge bombs. So please attend. Love to have you on. Ask questions. So this is what we're doing. We're trying to give back and provide value to you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. You guys go out, be phenomenal. God bless you guys. Have a great day.
See you guys later.